if someone for a year is just ignoring you or disregarding your efforts to try to fix things or whatever, that is abusive.
If you know someone's not going to give up on you,
right,
even when you're feeling down and out, then you're so much stronger because it takes both of you in order to have the thing be destroyed. Like I said, there is a duration to that where it's not even necessarily the duration. It's like, are they not responding at all? So, yeah.
Well, and look, and I admire Marissa for saying 5 to 7 years, because that's a long time to be unhappy.
Yeah.
Like, that's a long time. And I think that her saying that made me feel like I could tell how bad she wanted to be with him. But I think she also just wants love at the same time. But I think, you know, saying that she would wait that long, like unhappy before they got a divorce, like, it seems like I can see where saying that you're like, oh, she would like really try to work through it or give it the time. But also it's like, that's a long time, 5 to 7 years to be unhappy.
Yeah.
And we only have one life. And I'm not saying I'm Oprah Winfrey of divorces. You get a divorce and you get a divorce.
Right.
Because I agree with you that I think it should be like the last stitch effort and to a point where you've tried 100% for however long your timeline is. And like at this point, divorce is the better option than staying where you are and potentially being abused or whatever's happening. Because you have to think about it too, right? Like if you're trying everything and the other person's still not doing it, which I agree with you that like, I think if one person initiates doing the right thing, it does inspire the other person too, especially if you have a deep connection.
Yeah.
I think that if someone for a year is just ignoring you or disregarding your efforts to try to fix things or whatever, like that is, I don't want to say abusive, but it is something that's very harmful and hurtful.
Well, it does become abusive to that extent and for that duration, right? But there's also the aspect of two are stronger than one. When one falls down, the other one picks them up, right? And so I think that's the thing to recognize, is that there does have to be a long enough amount of time, and you do have to be trying to lift the other person up, and they have to be refusing your help or not trying to at all. Because you know, one of the great things about being married and having a commitment is that, you know, it's a little different for us because we were not really like, because of the bond that we have in the relationship that we've cultivated, that I don't anticipate this happening. But I would say that there are, for a lot of people in their lives, in their relationships, there will be periods of time where one person is not fully present or fully there, or they're struggling with some stuff in their life, and they're just like, and it's causing them to neglect the relationship and the partner, or they're lost, and having that other person carrying them, still being there for them while they're struggling through that time, and then eventually they come out of it, and then maybe it flips the other way at some point, and the other person is down and out and not, you know, or is disillusioned with the relationship, and they need the guidance. I think having that strength of knowing that no one's going to give up. It's like, if you know someone's not going to give up on you, right? Even when you're feeling down and out, then you're so much stronger because it takes both of you in order to have the thing be destroyed. But again, like I said, there is a duration to that where it's not even necessarily the duration. It's like, are they not responding at all? Right. Are they like, because they could be in a bad place for a long time, for a couple of years even, you know, people go through things, and the other person might be unhappy in their relationship, right? But they're not giving up on this person that they committed to. And I think that's what it comes down, because those are the circumstances where a lot of people do give up and that they don't take the commitment seriously. You know what I mean? It's like, I think that's where I think it's important to be very committed to the thing. It's clear when it's the situation that you're describing, where it's like, okay, the person's not even responding at all. They're neglecting you on purpose. They don't, you know, they're not putting any effort into the relationship. They just want to go and live their separate life. Like they're already checked out completely, you know. I think in that case, you still have to obviously give it some amount of time, but
yeah.
then okay, well, they don't even care. They're not even trying. So,
well, and I think that's, I guess, my main thing where it would have a timeline is if the other person's not trying, like no matter what it is. And even if they're trying, but it doesn't seem like very much, or it's going very slowly, I don't have a problem with that. It's the total lack of trying with everything. Like if there's an issue with the relationship and they're not trying, if they're, depressed and they're not trying to help themselves, if, whatever other circumstance would come up, like as long as there's trying for me, then there is no time limit, right? Like, and it doesn't have to be a certain amount of trying. It has to be trying, like visible.
Yeah.
But because that's really the thing, right? Is like, especially if you're in a situation where your partner is depressed or something and, you can't really help them. The only way that they can get help is from themselves. Like they have to be the one to figure out how they can help themselves not be in this state. And so like, I totally agree with you with supporting your partner and being there and carrying the load sometimes, because that is how it's going to be in a marriage. And I'm not saying it's not, but if your partner's depressed for a year and you feel like they're not really trying, then who's to say that might be like a permanent state? Especially with depression, it's like you can stay in that, like you said, for a really long time if you're absorbed by it and it becomes just what you are, right?
Exactly.
Like, so even small acts of trying to combat that would matter to me and would, take away whatever timeline thing. It's just the not trying.
It's a not, exactly. Which again, I think we, that circumstance is an extreme one that I don't know if will really actually exist, right? At that, I mean, I guess it doesn't in some, but usually in those circumstances, it's accompanied with abuse,
right?
Because that to be that kind of person, or some kind of mental disability or some kind of mental injury or something that is actually wrong with you, because otherwise, what happened? How is that even possible, right? Or you're not actually, as the other person in the relationship, trying and putting in the right kind of effort, and or you've hurt them so badly that they're not responding anymore, and now you've got to do the work to like try and restore that that thing. But
there's a lot of different circumstances, and it's kind of like different answers for each one. You know what I mean? Sort of thing.
Yeah, it's weird because like I think the way that question was asked, or like the way it was stated in that episode of the show, it comes from the perception of that you could be in that state where you would just be unhappy for 5 to 7 years, where it is kind of more like you're living separate lives, or you're just doing whatever, or you're not talking about it and you're just like secretly unhappy, or you're just very, you express it sometimes that you're unhappy, like you're not trying to resolve or work things. And then, I can see someone saying, okay, well, I would be like this for 5 to 7 years. And, but that kind of thinking is almost like, I want someone else to magically fix my problem. And so I'm going to wait 5 to 7 years to see if that happens. And if it doesn't happen, then I'm going to give up, which is noble in thought, but is not the thing that is required to do. Like you have to actually really put in the effort, because if you're just saying, okay, I'm just going to be 5 to 7 years just living my life in an unhappy state, it sounds like you're probably not talking to the person and saying, hey, I'm unhappy with this. And surprisingly, a lot of people do that. They don't say, this is what's actually bothering me, or this is what I'm unhappy about, or I like this, I don't like this.
And if you can't talk to your partner about that, the person you're married to, who the heck can you talk to?
Right.
If you can't be honest with them. Well, and I think that she said that not to manipulate Ramses, but in a way kind of, because he was, like, I don't know if I can live like this. I don't know if I can get married and have this happen, And I think she was trying to be like, well, I can handle some uncomfortable times, and then chose this like really big, frame of time. And, he had already been divorced.
Right.
So who's to say that he hadn't been unhappy and for a good chunk of time. And so him hearing that was probably scared him more than made him realize, oh, yeah, sometimes there's going to be unhappy times. Like I think she did it in a weird way.
Yeah.
Like I get what she was trying to do, but I don't think it worked the way that she thought.
She's saying I'm committed, like I'm willing, like even if we have it's rocky, I'm going to stick it out. And that's really the thing is like if it's rocky, are you going to stick it out? And the answer should be yes, because you made the commitment. Rocky is different than what?
Than 5 to 7 years of unhappiness.
Well, if it's rocky for 5 to 7 years, that's still rocky. That's still
and like not, you said, if there's some sort of effort, then that's different. I guess maybe I took it too literally when she said unhappy, but in my mind, unhappy is like no good times and like two people living like separate lives and barely talking to each other.
Yeah. Well, and I think the thing is like too many people get caught up on the word happy too, right? Like you're not entitled to happiness. And if you chase happiness in life, that's the sure formula for finding misery. You have to chase fulfillment. You have to do the things not just because that's where people get lost is they're like, oh, well, I'm not happy right now. Or I'm not happy in a relationship. I'm unhappy with my partner. No, that's not the same thing as what we're talking about. You know what I mean? That those are choices that you make when you compare, when you say you want this. Those are not the things like there's a serious problem or the person's not treating you properly or that's the thing. And that's where I guess that people get it is because they're like, oh, I'm not happy. I'm not happy with the situation. I'm not happy with these things.